This is the cheapest VRS245 in the country, and now it's a part of the TDH family. Now, before we get into how this is the cheapest 245 in the country, let me clear out one thing. This is not my personal car, and as much as I would love to buy a VRS 245, I think so I'm kind of done with the MQB platform and the EA888. But yeah, I think I should clear out that this is Tanay's car, and this is of course going to be there on the channel very regularly, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Coming back to how this is the cheapest VRS 245. Tanay bought this car at a very good price, and I don't think I'm going to tell you the price just yet. Maybe that will be reserved for a different video altogether, but let me just tell you this much. He's bought this VRS 245 at the same price or at the market price currently that VRS 230s are going for. And if you ask my opinion on it, I think so that is the price that a VRS 245 should go for. 20 to 25 lakhs for a VRS 245 and under 20 for a VRS 230 is what you should be looking at nowadays, in my opinion. So if someone is asking a ridiculous price for these cars, I don't think you should go for it, because I think so the value has really depreciated that much. Now let's talk about the engine, because you'll be surprised. My life, bro. I'm used to CKD cars, so I mean, whatever. But this thing is a stage 3 car, kind of. I mean, so as I mentioned, this is a VRS 245, so stock this thing made 245 horsepower. But the thing is, this is running a complete stage 3 setup, but a stage 3 setup that we're not really used to. So this is running a turbo called as a snail turbo. It's technically still an IS20, but the internals have been changed, the core has been changed, so it's kind of like an hybrid, but you know, it's just a little weird. But it's running a good set of parts, some of them. It's running a racing line intake, it's running a CTS front mounted intercooler, again something that, you know, mechanics is not really used to. They run a completely different intercooler setup, so that will probably get changed, or you know, we'll just open it up, see if everything's fitted properly, which I'm guessing it is, because the car has been running kind of okay. But yeah, apart from that, it's running a Miltech downpipe, and yeah, a completely butchered exhaust system by Miltech at the end. I think this should be making anywhere from 380 to 400 horsepower, and since this is a DQ381 transmission, you know, no problems in terms of the gearbox. It's running pretty well, but again, the tune and the ECU calibration, TCU calibration is a little bit off. We'll talk about that a little bit more while driving, but let's talk about some of the aesthetic stuff. So let's quickly talk about the cosmetic upgrades that this thing has, and it has quite a few. It's fully kitted out with Maxton parts. It has this Maxton cap on the OEM spoiler. You also get a Maxton diffuser, and if you come ahead, you can see it has the Maxton rear bumper extensions as well. Team dynamic wheels, and you know, everything has come full circle for Tanay. Even his Abarth had team dynamic wheels at the end, so yeah, I think so this car was meant to be. Again, side skirts from Maxton. It used to have a Maxton front splitter, but I think so it definitely broke off, and we're not too sure as to if this is running on stock suspension or not. We're guessing it's on Euro spec springs, that's why the stance is still pretty nice. But as far as we know, the struts are stock, the springs are probably Euro spec springs. It's running on PS4 tires, and the brakes are also stock, and I think so it's just having EBC yellow stuff brake pads. So Yeah, overall it looks very menacing, and it still has the same grille as my car, the honeycomb mesh at the front. So yeah, it looks like a very menacing car, and Tanay has been talking about changing the color, but I think so you should keep it white for a while. Let's go for a drive. So unfortunately, it got a little bit too dark outside while we went out for the driving talking shot. So here's a little brief as to how the VRS245 is to drive. Now, as I said before, this car is running a snail turbo, which is essentially an IS20 turbo which has been bored out, has different internals and so on. Now the tune that the car is running is a little bit wonky at the moment, or maybe it's the GPF filter that is causing some issues. So the idle of the car is a bit high, and when you're in a bit of stop and go traffic, the car feels a little jerky. Apart from that, the car has a lot of drone. A lot. The drone is so intense that the driver and passenger cannot have a normal conversation without needing to shout in it. Now, driving wise, the boost of this car starts almost after 3500 RPM. So it's very laggy till that RPM point. But once you cross that, you literally fight the car for whatever traction you can get. This driving style is something that I enjoy personally because it's very dramatic and unpredictable to an extent, but Tanay wants a little bit more of a linear power curve. So what we are planning on doing is to change the tune at first and keep this turbo and see how it runs on a different tune. If it is then okay, then we may keep it. If not, we'll switch back to a stock IS20 turbo, make everything stock and start the build from scratch. I'm really excited to see how this pans out. I hope you guys are also excited, as we all are for this project. This is the first time that we have our own in-house TDH Octavia VRS, and that too a 245, which is even more crazy. Let us know in the comments down below what sort of content you want us to make with this new VRS 245 that we've got our hands on. 2025 has started off with a bang at TDH, and we hope to see you guys stick around because the content is just gonna get crazier. So yeah, we're super excited to have the 245 on the channel, and finally we have a VRS that we can call our own, and we're going to be doing a proper restoration or just a change into the car because this setup that this car is running is not really familiar to any of us. So we want to bring into something which is a little bit more workable for us. So yeah, this is going to be a very exciting project, and like I said, not going to be a build series, but it will be a kind of like a restoration or a tune-up kind of series. So stay tuned for some really epic content with this car. We'll be doing some really crazy stuff with it. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching.